Just getting started. Give me just a minute or two here as we get set up. We are streaming on multiple platforms again tonight. So we are streaming on TikTok. We are also streaming on YouTube, long and shorts. And we are streaming on X. Multiple platforms tonight. Bring your questions, bring your comments, and we'll get into it. And the main topic tonight is going to be, are you an elk or a zebra? So let's talk about which one you are, which one you want to be, and what it actually means. So let's talk about which one you are, which one you want to be, and it looks like our streams are all up and running. And now I should be able to see everybody's chats coming in from all the different platforms. So if you have questions or comments, just go ahead and drop them into chat, and I should be able to see them and we can have a conversation. So just give me one more minute here where I get set up. Welcome, welcome. Just getting started here. Okay. Welcome, welcome. Drop your comments and questions here. Hello, hello, and welcome. So the topic for today is going to be, are you an elk or a zebra? And if you don't know what that means, we're going to explain it here in just a minute. So come on in, take a seat, grab yourself a drink, perhaps. Cup of coffee, maybe a cup of tea, and let's talk about what it is to be an elk or a zebra in today's world. Quick introduction for me. My name is Joe. I am a solutions architect in the enterprise software space. I've been a solutions architect for nearly 30 years. Weathered a lot of storms, a lot of crazy storms when it comes to layoffs and the job market, and so I'm still here, I'm still surviving. So I am here to offer some advice on how you might be able to survive the AI era, even though it's quite a bit different than anything we've seen before. So again, jump on in, have a seat, relax. Let's talk about this, and I'm going to do my best to try to help a few people out that could use some directions, and maybe you can start making a change at work starting tomorrow. So again, my name is Joe. I'm a solutions architect. Been that for nearly 30 years in the enterprise software space. And in today's world of AI, we have a lot of challenges that we've never seen before. So this is what we want to talk about, but mainly I want to try to provide you with some very clear and actionable directions that you can implement at your job to try to keep yourself safe from layoffs, because they are coming. Well, not only are they coming, but they were announced just last month. Cumulative 108,000 job layoffs coming over the next few months by many companies, all of which, or nearly all of which, are being blamed on AI. So that is a little frightening. So if you got questions, comments, drop them into chat. But what I mainly want to do is have a conversation about your situation. Okay? So if you are in a job working for somebody, even if you have a small business or a medium-sized business, we can talk about that as well. But most importantly, if you have a current job and you are concerned about being laid off due to AI automation, okay, then let's talk about your specific situation. If you're on TikTok, you can actually pull you in by audio, and we can actually have a conversation, or you can drop your questions and details into the chat, and I will try to give you some direct feedback. So here's our goal. It's very, very simple. I know because I've done this now for 2.5 years. 2.5 years ago, when I saw AI on the horizon, because I work in tech and have done so for 30 years, and I've weathered many different storms over that time period, including outsourcing, dot-com boom, the dot-com bust, the financial crisis, I started making a plan, okay? And my plan was very, very simple. That was, I knew that as AI was going to evolve, and I knew that things were going to be changing in my work environment, that I needed to stand out, okay? Now, if you think about the work environment and you think about the advice that many people have gotten over their lifetime, especially perhaps from your family or parents or senior people in your life, they would tell you things like, keep your head down, don't make waves, you don't want to stand out, you don't want to be the one that they see, okay, or focus on. You just want to stay among the herd, right? So that you don't end up with something negative. Well, that script has been completely flipped. So here's a little image I'm going to share with everybody. You should be able to see this. I'm going to bring it up on TikTok. I'll bring it up over on the other screen so everybody can see it as well. And you should be able to see it both on all the streaming platforms in just a second. So this is the little meme that I came up with, right? And it's the question very simple. Who do you want to be, okay? Do you want to be the elk or do you want to be the zebra? The elk is the herd. And unfortunately, the mentality of the herd is to push back on adopting new things. That's not what your boss wants to hear. That's not what your management wants to hear. Your management is all in on AI automation for their company. And if you don't realize that at this point in time, then you're behind the curve already, okay? So my company is the same way. I work for a multi-billion-dollar company, and they're all in on AI. But I can tell you that many of my coworkers push back on using it. They don't understand it, they don't want to understand it, and they push back. So who are they? They are the elks, not the zebras. I'm the zebra. I'm the zebra in my group, and I'm a zebra because I started about 2.5 years ago emphasizing this in my life and in my functionality of my job, okay? And what has that done for me? Well, it's literally made me the go-to expert in my group, okay? Now, that's pretty beneficial because now when they think AI, they think Joe, right? And that's a good thing for me. So I'm standing out, and standing out is a good thing, especially in today's world, right? So when it comes to layoffs, who do you think they're going to be laying off? Are they going to be laying off that zebra that has embraced AI and has figured out how to use it and benefit not only themselves in their job position, but to benefit the company overall? And that's the other twist to this whole change in this change that we are seeing in our, not only in our society, but also in business, okay? Where you're now going to be expected to understand the bigger picture. And there's lots of reasons for that. When I say the bigger picture, I mean you need to understand the bigger picture in the sense that how your job is affecting the top line in terms of revenue and the bottom line in terms of expenses and the net that's coming out of that company. So I see I've got a few comments, questions here. Let's see. I got a question, but it's not like job related. I think it's Michelle, if I've got the name there correct. Go ahead and drop it into chat there. I'm more than happy to try to answer it for you. Again, my name's Joe, Solutions Architect. I've been in the enterprise tech space for nearly 30 years, weathered a lot of different storms. And so if you have questions, comments, drop them into chat. I will do my best to answer them for you. But mainly, our focus tonight is understanding that in today's world, you want to be the zebra and not the elk. Okay. And again, I'll bring up my little meme again here shortly for anybody who didn't get a chance to see it. But it's pretty basic. Okay. The concept is you want to stand out. That's how you get ahead in today's world. And more importantly, it's less about getting ahead in today's world, but it's more about keeping your job and being the last one to potentially get laid off. Okay, this is what we are really after in terms of kind of the benefit. So, Michelle, if you're still out there, feel free to drop your question and I will answer it for you if I can. So again, simple question for everybody. Are you an elk or are you a zebra today? That is the question. And I apologize, with what I got going on here, TikTok likes to show lots of different things. Okay, so I'll bring up this photo again real quickly for anybody who didn't get a chance to see it, and I'm going to minimize it so that it doesn't cover my face completely. We'll just toss it over here. Okay, so it's a meme, right? It's a very simple concept. You are either going to be the herd that gets laid off, or you're going to be the zebra that stands out. And why are you standing out? Because you're embracing AI. You are implementing it within your day-to-day job, and you are doing it in such a way that you are attempting, and I say the word attempting, to kind of bring your fellow employees along with you for the ride. Then you start becoming seen as the expert, okay? As somebody who has got a bigger vision to the company than just punching the clock and being there 9 to 5, 8 to 5 every day. Okay, it's unfortunate, guys. And I say that with sincerity. Okay, but the world has changed, and I saw it coming again 2.5 years ago. And these are the changes I started making personally myself to try to ensure that 2.5 years later, I was still employed, and hopefully will continue to be employed. Okay. By standing out. Now, if you have specific questions or specific situation, I'm more than happy to talk to you. We can have a conversation, we can have a chat, and I may be able to give you some very specific guidance on what you could do starting tomorrow at your job if you're going to be back at it. Okay. And now I'm going to give you a very simple example here in terms of some of the things that I've done. So besides digging deep into all things AI, which again I started about 2.5 years ago as I saw things starting to come to market, I invested my own time, I invested my own money into various platforms to get a better understanding, of what their capabilities were, what I could do with them, how they worked. And if anybody out there is technical or software engineer or software developer, the very first question I asked myself when I saw AI coming onto the scene 2.5 years ago now was, wait, I don't understand, how are all these rules being embedded in a model, right? And then that led me to do some research. And again, I'm a technical person, but I was scratching my head going, this doesn't quite make sense to me. Well, I dove into it and found out and learned about neural networks, which is a whole nother topic. But the point being is I educated myself. And as I educated myself, I was able to educate the people around me at work. And now I'm seen very much as kind of the go-to person in our group as the expert. So I have become the zebra. Now, there's other ways of becoming the zebra. You don't have to necessarily be technical. And more importantly, you don't necessarily have to be in a technical role, okay? So one of the examples I'll use is the fact that I also have a creative side. Okay. Obviously, I'm sitting here in front of a camera. I'm live streaming. We're currently live streaming actually on 3 different platforms: YouTube, TikTok, and X. So if you're on any of those platforms, drop a chat, drop a comment, drop a chat. I'm happy to have a conversation with you and would love to hear from you. I do see everything coming through on a central chat board, so I can see everything. But as a creative, I got the idea, and I'll tell you where I got the idea, but I got the idea, what if I brought my creative side into my day job, right? My creative side was mainly something I did on the side. I did a little digital agency on the side at one point in time, worked with a few clients. I enjoyed the technical aspect of advertising because it's very technical these days when you're doing digital advertising. But I also was producing and creating all the necessary content, videos and images and all the various marketing pieces. Well, that's something I enjoyed and I was very, very passionate about. Now, about a year and a half ago, I thought to myself, why don't I figure out how to combine this or merge this into my day-to-day? And wouldn't that make me, what? Stand out like a zebra. Sure enough, that's what I started doing. The response I received from management and from coworkers was amazing. And part of it was because the area that I work in, is not very, it's not a very creative area. We're engineers, we're developers, we're consultants. Mostly what we work with is fairly dry in nature from a topic perspective, right? So I brought some spark into it. And when I brought some spark into it, my management and my fellow employees were blown away, received lots of positive feedback, right? Which felt great, loved it. But what did it do for me? It made me a zebra, right? So everything I do moving forward and from that point really was about, how do I stand out, right? And that's what you need to think about. If you want to stay gainfully employed, if you want to get a new job, if you want to work in the era of AI, well, then you're going to have to be able to sell yourself as a person who, number one, knows how to use AI, but can also be shown to be better than yourself when using AI, okay? In other words, you need to become that zebra. You need to become that zebra among the elks, okay? So again, we have some different ways we can do that. For me, like I said, part of it was combining my creative side and pulling that into my technical side. And again, something that very few people do. The benefit there was I stood out. Now, I kind of got the idea from a book that I read that was a pretty interesting book. And if I remember the title correctly, it was called Hacking Growth. It's an older book, but it actually is quite timely. And one of the things that it talked about was exactly what I'm kind of saying. And that is that if you have more skills, if you have more abilities beyond what you use in your 9-to-5 job, do not be afraid of pulling those in to your 9-to-5 job. Not only will it give you some fulfillment that you probably are craving, okay, in your 9-to-5 job, but it's going to make you do what? It's going to make you stand out, right? It's going to make you stand out as that zebra, okay? So again, that is my recommendation. You got questions, comments, drop them. We can have a conversation. And again, I'm more than happy to dive into a very specific conversation with anybody who's got specific either questions or comments related to their situation. So if you're experiencing this situation, drop a comment, or if you're wanting to, I'm happy to have a voice conversation with you on TikTok. and we can talk about it. And I know I'll be able to give you some ideas if I have a chance to ask you some questions about your background on how you can start moving outside of the herd, okay, and into a position where you stand out like a zebra among elks. So you got questions, comments, drop them in. We've got viewers on. We have viewers now on X. We got viewers on YouTube Long and Shorts, and we have viewers also on TikTok. So again, I can see chats and comments from across all those platforms. Drop them in and let's talk. If you give me some ideas, okay, of backgrounds for anybody, I can help you try to visualize or explore how the alternative backgrounds you may have may actually be an asset, okay, within your current job. And making yourself more valuable within your current job, okay, makes you stand out. Makes you what? Makes you the zebra among the elks, okay? And if you don't believe me, just look at the layoffs. The layoffs, when they are mass, rarely do they lay off 100% of everybody, okay? There's always exceptions. I don't think I've ever worked for any company that's had mass layoffs in which there were not some exceptions. And who's making the decisions on the exceptions? It's management, of course. Now, a lot of times management gets caught up in the layoffs as well. But at the same time, that same management is usually involved in making those decisions about who is going to get laid off. Okay. Of course, there's no guarantees, but I can guarantee you, if all you are is part of the herd and not standing out in today's world, then when they come for that group with layoffs, you will be included, just like you're included when that entire herd or group is viewed from afar by management. That's the truth. So you got questions, comments, drop them in. Let's see if I can help somebody along and maybe help you keep your job either a little bit longer or avoid a layoff. Questions, comments. Layoffs are bad. Scary. Questions, comments, drop them in. You got a specific situation? If you have a general tech or AI question, you feel free to drop that in as well. Question, comments, drop them into chat. Happy to address them. Again, are you an elk or you're a zebra? Trying to enlarge my image here. Questions, comments. Are you a zebra or are you an elk? Drop a comment. Let me see. Are you a zebra or are you an elk? Which one are you? Which one? Elk or zebra? Let me know. Drop it in the comment. Does anybody think they're going to get laid off this week based on all the announcements that came out in January? When do you think you should start preparing for a layoff? Is it a year before? Or is it the day of? Or is it the weeks following? That's the question. And depending on your answer, it will say a lot whether you're an elk or a zebra. But regardless of what you are, currently, elk or zebra, there's always an opportunity. There's an opportunity to change. Move yourself into the position of being that elk. I'm sorry, being that position of moving yourself into being that zebra. Don't want to be the elk. Oh, a nice little laugh track. Hello, Kate. We're talking about elks and zebras. Which are you? So, are you an elk or are you a zebra? Which one are you? See our little meme down in the corner there? Which one are you? AI can do your job better than you. That was a little loud. Sorry about that. Okay. Let's go. Elk or zebra? Which one are you? Drop it in chat. Let me know. Have we heard about the elk and zebra analogy before? It's actually an analogy that used to be used in dating life. Probably still is. Bottom line is, those who stand out, they get the attention. In the old days, people at work, they didn't want any attention. They wanted to keep their heads down and just pass through day to day. But in today's world, during the AI era, where AI is coming for pretty much any job that's being done at the keyboard, okay? So if that's you and you're working at a keyboard all day long, well, AI is basically lurking behind you. And if you don't realize that, then you're not paying attention. But there is an opportunity. And that means if you're still employed, there is an opportunity to become a zebra instead of an elk in that herd, so that you stand out, and when and if those layoffs come, you're seen as somebody who's valuable to keep around. Why? The mass layoff wipes out the majority of the herd, the elks. So, drop a comment, question. Happy to answer it if I can, give you some direction. Mainly, if you're concerned about how to make yourself stand out, let me know. Give me a little background on yourself and I'll give you an idea of what you can do. As I mentioned before, for me, one of the things that I started doing 2.5 years ago was learning about AI. Now I'm a technical person, solutions architect, so wasn't a big stretch. But one of the other things I did is I started to pull in the other skills that I have that are not typically used within the type of job that I have. I started pulling those in and I started using them in my day-to-day job, figuring out how can I weave in my other skills. And my other skills mainly are creative, much like you see here doing the streaming. I'm obviously not too shy, not afraid to be in front of the camera. I understand some basic production work, film editing, video editing, things of this nature. So I married that all up, and I used that in my day-to-day job. And bada bing, bada boom, made me a zebra, made me stand out. And that's is what it's about. And if you don't think that's what it's about, and you want to go merrily along without accepting that reality, then you are not preparing yourself for the wave of AI and related layoffs that are coming. Again, I'm not making this up. And this was announced over January. 108,000 layoffs have been announced in January due to mainly AI, the largest number since 2009. So if you don't think this is going to affect you, then you're going to think again. So I'm here to try to help few people, if I can, to stand out, be that zebra among elks. And there's ways you can do that. So if you drop some comments or questions, I'm happy to provide you some insights, and I'll continue to share my own personal stories. Again, part of it is trying to pull in your other skills and talents into your day-to-day job. For me, I'm a technical person. So I've done a lot of technical things in terms of software and things of this nature, but I decided to pull in my creative. So the creative aspect helped me. And Liberty Ann, Solutions Joe, no. At Solutions Joe. I'm not sure what that means, but okay. So anyways, bottom line is you need to think about this, but you need to think about this starting today and not tomorrow, because tomorrow may be too late. Next week is probably definitely going to be too late, and weeks from now are going to be definitely way too late. So you really need to think about this now, as I started thinking about it really a couple of years ago, and start preparing for it accordingly. So if you have questions, comments, drop them in. I'm happy to answer them. Just taking a look at what we have here in terms of the number of people streaming. Don't be shy. Drop your comments, drop your questions. So I'm gonna pull this up on YouTube Shorts. So for those who are watching a YouTube Shorts, what we're talking about here is this concept of being a zebra among elks. Okay, so the zebra is standing out. The elks are not, and they are the masses, because most people don't want to stand out. They don't want to put that effort into it. Okay, they're shy, or they're, don't want to rock any boats. Unfortunately, that will often get you included in the masses, especially when it comes to layoffs. So you need to stand out, and there's many different options and ways you can potentially do that. They're all really very specific to your situation. So I can share, again, some of the things that I have done and will continue to do in my day-to-day life and work, but for you, they may be different. Okay? So we have questions. I see we got, so why is AI? So I see somebody asking a question, why is AI allowed to put out false information on purpose? So there is a concept called hallucination when it comes to AI models, right? And they do hallucinate. But I will tell you this, again, I've been working very deeply in this area for the last 2.5 years. What is occurring now in terms of AI models is far less hallucination. Okay, so when you think of AI and you think of different models, the easiest way to think about this, to be perfectly honest, and I know it might sound a little weird, but humans, okay? And I know, and I don't say that to freak you out. I'm not suggesting they're human, but just as a baby, right, is born with a blank slate in terms of its brain and knowing anything, right, other than things that are kind of innate to it, right, as a human being, it has to learn. Now, that baby, when it gets to be 6 years old and you ask it a question, right, you may or may not get an accurate answer, right? As it continues to develop and it goes through the various levels of school and eventually high school and college, you ask that same question, you're probably going to get a factual answer. It's not unlike AI. AI models, some are very immature and some are very mature. The newer ones are very mature. And the latest release, I think by OpenAI now, is 5.3. And it's very, very good. Very minimal. If well, let's put it this way: I have not encountered an obvious hallucination with an AI model in actually quite some time. But I have paid accounts, and so I do use the latest and greatest models. So hopefully that gives you some insight. Now, in terms of the word allow, that is, certainly not the preference of the AI companies for it to hallucinate. But again, if you think about it as an immature person or a uneducated person, that's kind of what an AI model, especially in the early days back in 2020, 2021, that's kind of how you can think about them. And that's why you got a lot of hallucinations. Now, I do see some other comments coming in. Perhaps the one comment was the AI model hallucinate because cool. Oh, I see you're a problem architect. AI or humans? Curious. Sam Altman doesn't give a So I hear that comment and that kind of viewpoint often from different people, and I get it. I really, really do. I'm not here to try to scare you, but I am trying to give people a reality check. Just as I've been trying to give people close in my life a reality check. AI is nothing that's going to be stopped. Okay. And from what I've seen, and again, I'm a very technical person, solutions architect. I've been doing this for 30 years. The advancements from a technological perspective with AI is mind blowing. Okay. For many people, they don't understand the evolution of this particular technology. We have never had a technology in our lifetimes that has had this type of iteration and advancements in such a compressed amount of time. Okay? It's just a fact. There's no getting around it. So you're either going to embrace it and take some advice from somebody, whether it's me or somebody else, to try to keep yourself relevant, okay? Which means staying employed, or if you have your own business, to be able to succeed and profit from that business. So that's the only reason I'm here. But I understand people have their feelings and their opinions. You're welcome for the comment. And then I see somebody else that's asking if you're concerned about the intellectual property, or there are some AI systems that are more secure than others. How worried do I need to be about using AI? Will it make my IP public? No, it won't. So, okay, first of all, I'm going to take a step back. So in the solutions world, in the world that I come from, okay, I'm a problem solver. I take problems, break them down to components, figure out solutions, and implement those types of solutions. So that question that you're asking is a very good question. But it's important to understand we have to put it within context. So when you say AI, can you define which model or platform you're referring to? That's very, very important. Okay. Not all AI models are created the same. Not all AI companies are created the same. Okay. If you are running like a DeepSeek, which is a Chinese-based model, and that is not a political opinion, the security on that for your information is a bit unknown, okay, because of just the way things work with companies in China, okay. US based companies have stricter regulations and stricter concerns. Because of that, you are typically safe to use these models, with very, very little concern. I use OpenAI as one of my primary models. I also use Claude. I pay for both. You can opt out of either of those. They have options for settings in which you can say, do not use my data, okay, that I'm uploading for what they call training purposes. You can opt out of that very, very easily. Both platforms have settings. You can just simply go in on your profile, toggle it off, and then that information basically does not end up into the training. For me, I'm not that concerned about it in terms of specific information. I don't put things like passwords or bank accounts or personal information that could be damaging to me in some way if it got out. I don't typically put that kind of information in there, but I do share quite a bit of information, and I do opt out of it, keeping that information from a training perspective too. So there are definitely ways of doing it, and that is you're highlighting a security concern that companies are, of course, addressing very rapidly here. Honestly, if you go back like a year and a half, 2 years ago, those options weren't there. The OpenAI companies, right? They heard the screaming and yelling from large companies going, we are not going to use your product unless you can assure us, that our data is not getting leaked, out to the world, because a lot of it's proprietary data. So they've put those guardrails and safety pieces into place so that people can use it safely as well as companies can use it safely. So hopefully that answers your question. I wouldn't be too concerned about it. Other questions, comments? Again, if you're on any of the platforms, we're streaming both on, we're actually streaming on 3, TikTok and YouTube, long and shorts, as well as on X. So if you have questions, comments, drop them in. I can see them aggregated, and I'm happy to try to answer them for you. And let me know, do you think you're an elk or do you think you're a zebra? Are you an elk and you don't want to be a zebra? I can tell you one of the things that I find interesting. Well, I'll share this with you. So Mark Zuckerberg, most of you probably know who he is, founder of Facebook, Meta. They had their earnings meeting the other week, and in that meeting, he was asked about the implementation of AI within their workforce and how that was going, and are they seeing return on investments and things of this nature. So, excuse me. So one of the things he stated, which honestly blew my mind, was the fact that they have been able to go from 100-person team down to a single person team, okay, using AI. But that one person using AI is smart. That was his statement. We've been able to go from 100 people on a project down to a single person on a project, but that person is smart and they're using AI. Okay? Again, you have to read between the lines on some of this stuff. What that was telling me, okay, is how much him and his company values those who are embracing AI and figuring out how they can leverage it. And I can also tell you that from personal experience. Even large companies, and I'm talking about multi-billion-dollar companies, are struggling to figure out how do they utilize AI within their day-to-day operations with their employees. And a lot of them are looking to the employees themselves to say, hey, how can you use this? Or how are you using this, right? And that is very interesting. And it just goes to show you, full circle, back to my whole point of this stream tonight, is that they're looking for zebras. Your management is looking for zebras. You either want to be one or you don't want to be one. And if you don't want to be one, then it's unfortunate. But in today's world, as things are changing, you're probably going to get caught in the layoffs. Okay? You got questions, comments, drop them. I'm happy to try to answer them for you. I'm just looking around at the different streams, making sure we are still streaming. I upgraded my internet the other day, hoping I wouldn't get any complaints on the streams. So again, drop your comments, questions. I'm happy to try to answer them for you. Questions, comments. Who's hanging out on YouTube Shorts out there? Got a question? Got a comment? Drop it in. Let me know. And let me know if you are an elk. Somebody's birthday. Hold on. If you've got your audio on, hopefully you heard that. That cheer is for your birthday. Happy birthday. I don't think I can pronounce your name, but happy birthday. Hopefully you guys hear the audio when it comes through. So if you got questions, comments, drop them in. Happy to address them. See if we can give you some direction or possibly even a game plan that you might be able to implement in the very near future at your job to make you that zebra instead of the elk. So on the YouTube Shorts, let me bring up the zebra again. There you go. So if you're on YouTube Shorts, because all these different platforms work a bit differently, what are we talking about? We're talking about you're either going to be a zebra or you are going to be a elk. An elk is the masses, typically the masses who are pushing back on change. And you're either going to be the zebra who stands out, embracing change and adding value. If you're that, your opportunities for sticking around at your current job are going to definitely increase. The likelihood anyways. So you got questions, comments, drop them. Let's talk about it. I wish I could play music. Supposedly, if I play music, I will get restricted, which I don't want to do. Okay. I think we're going to wrap things up here. Hopefully opened up some minds, provided some insight for some considerations. I live stream fairly often. If you are not a follower, give me a follower. By the way, thanks for the hearts. I think appreciate those. But give me a follow. If you have questions, comments, you're always welcome to jump into a live stream and ask, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining. This was a good conversation. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end the streams. Have a good night.